Welcome back to the Primal Reset podcast. Today, we're joined by Matt Walsh, the founder and CEO of Splish Naturals, a brand redefining recovery through plant-based topicals and advanced wellness tech. From leading spa programs at the Ritz-Carlton to creating CBD-infused solutions, was featured at the Grammys and sporting events, Matt's been at the forefront of modern holistic healing. Matt, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome to the show.
Elliot, thanks for inviting me. I'm happy to be here and look forward to, your questions and being part of this podcast.
Awesome. And we're happy to have you as well. Tell me the first thing, share a little bit of your story with me. What's your journey getting
Sure.
into the wellness industry?
Yeah, so my journey began many, many, many years ago as a Wall Streeter. And after spending almost 20 or over 20 years in that field, I decided I wanted to move into something a little more calming and relaxing and giving back, more on the local basis in the communities, and got involved with the spa industry. My wife and I opened our first spa back in 2004, and it just clicked with me. I've had the honor to work with great companies such as the Ritz-Carlton, Vail Resorts, Rock Resorts. I've owned my own spas. I've been a consultant to aspiring spa and salon owners to make sure that we mitigate the potential for failure. Back in 2000 and early 2018, I published a book called Weed What, kind of tapping into my Wall Street days on investing in this new stocks that were coming aboard in the cannabis industry, and CBD kept coming up. So I researched it and decided that when it was my time to move on from the Ritz-Carlton, I founded Splish Naturals at that time as a purely a CBD play for more of a business to business. We launched the company in December 2019. Great fun 3 months later as the world was shut down due to the COVID pandemic. But that's okay. That worked for us, actually, from the standpoint that we decided to take a more spherical approach towards wellness and not just focus on any one particular product, whether it was CBD or PEMF mats or grounding mats. We decided that, we need to encompass all the tools that are available to us to help individuals relax, help them recover maybe from an athletic event or a surgical procedure, help them calm their minds and bodies if they're at an infusion center or a dialysis center. And so our goal is to, one, be all natural, safe for anybody to utilize. Again, if there's an opportunity to get people off of pills such as ibuprofen and take a more natural, holistic approach towards wellness, pain relief, reduction of inflammation, then that's what our goal is. That's who we are, and that's what we represent.
I love it. I love it. It's as a former athlete myself, it's always difficult to find, or at least the time that I played, it was a difficult time to find more of the holistic, more natural side of, body care and being able to actually recover from soreness and recover from injuries or joint pain or anything of that aspect as well. I know you guys have a lot of products, and like you said, you started with CBD, and I'm going to ask you about that as well. What's your favorite product that you guys currently share with the world?
So me personally, I'm pretty athletically fit. I'm a big trail runner, backcountry skier, alpine skier, hiker. I don't do the long distance biking anymore, and I'm not running marathons, but that's all part of my past. So like relying on a holistic product was really important to me. And I'll admit that back in 2018, when I started formulating CBD products, it was a bit self-serving because, like yourself, I was looking for some other way to, manage any of the pain or inflammation I had, say, in my knees from a long trail run. And so my favorite products, the three favorite products I have in our portfolio, there are two CBD products, part of our sport line. which is Formula 3 sport balm. It's really great for sore knees, sore joints. For people who've been hunched over their laptops all day and maybe aren't out, it's great to help reduce pain in the neck and the traps. My other favorite one is a spray. It's called Formula Number 6, and that's a muscle relief spray. It really, what I like about it, and the formulations are similar, but the camphor and menthol concentrations are higher in the spray, which helps increase blood circulation. If you've got a tight muscle, CBD is great for helping to reduce pain, but it's not going to increase your blood circulation. And of course, as an athlete yourself, you know that we need to increase blood circulation to promote healing. The last product that I use on a daily basis is our rejuvenation mat. This mat contains a pulse electromagnetic field. It has far infrared heat. It has negative ion generation. There are TENS patches that come with it, and there's gemstone therapy involved with it as well. So just as, like I said, beginning of this, we were going after everything spherically. In the marketplace, there are great PEMF mats. There are great far infrared heated mats. We've basically combined the best of the best into a single mat because why? We go after pain, inflammation, relaxation, and overall well-being spherically and not rely on any one single modality to improve your wellness.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to ask you questions on all three of those. Two of them I'm going to group together. Share with me a short, summarized version of this. What's the difference between CBD and what everyone associates it with marijuana and the relaxing drug?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of, there's some disreputation as well. This was going to be the new frontier, whether it's the legalization of marijuana in Washington and Colorado in 2014, and then the legalization of hemp across all 50 states on the 2017 Farm Bill. And so, unlike its brethren marijuana, which is a cannabinoid from the marijuana plant, CBD is a cannabinoid from the hemp plant. In its purest form, it does contain 0.3% THC, and they refer to that as a full spectrum product, CBD. Unlike us, we use isolate, which means that 99.9% of all THC has been removed. It'll never show up in a drug test. After we were testing products with massage therapists, and therapists were worried, if I use a full spectrum CBD day in and day out, eventually, yes, you will test positive for THC. That's the same thing with any other, whether you're in professional sports where you might be tested, for all kinds of different things on Monday morning after a Sunday football game, or you're in law enforcement, or, in a field where you might be regularly drug tested or randomly drug tested. Nobody wants to lose their occupation because they were using an all natural herb to help reduce their pain and inflammation. So that's why we stick with isolate. And the way CBD works is it interacts, it never enters the bloodstream. We only do topical products. We do not do orally ingested products. So when you apply it to the skin, it basically localizes where the pain is. So if you've got sore knees, you just wrapped up a really tough hockey game and you got sore knees, sure, you could take a CBD product orally, a gummy or whatever, but just keep in mind that one, it has to get through the digestive tract, okay? Second of all, now you're sharing it with the entire body, but when you apply it locally, we're focusing on that local area. And it's actually through the central nervous system or the endocannabinoid system where the body actually produces its own cannabinoid. And generally it starts producing when you're physically active. We're you and I right now talking, maybe my jaw's physically active, but and so what happens is when you apply a CBD balm, it sends messages to the brain to basically for the body to start producing its own cannabinoid, okay, which is inherent. It's in all of us. And the endocannabinoid system is everywhere. It's in your skin, it's in your tongue, it's in your digestive tract, it's everywhere. And so it's really, a natural healing, pain relieving, inflammation reducing, for lack of a better word, herb or a component of the hemp plant. Yet, unlike, the vitamin industry, there's not a lot of regulation that surrounds it, which is what kind of opens up the Pandora box of, misinformation or disinformation. And so, it's important that and for other CBD companies, they know the story. You got to have your products tested, make sure there's nothing harmful in it, make sure if you're telling people there's no THC, well, make sure there's no THC in it. And it's really important that we do that, at least until at some point in time there's some standardized regulatory structure, and it might be the same structure that they have with taking vitamin C or ibuprofen, which is something we're really working to get people off of.
I love that explanation. There's so much stigmatism around CBD and the hemp plant and marijuana and what's good and what's not, and it's the same thing and it's not. And never truly, with all the disinformation out there, I've never truly had a real explanation. And I know personally, I've dealt with it in my past and asked a couple of people that have used it themselves. I love the explanation that you shared with us. Just you guys are taking the THC out of it. This is simply for pain relieving, and it is the most effective because we're using something that our body already produces.
Yeah.
It's almost like taking melatonin to go to sleep. Body produces melatonin. We're
Yeah.
simply heightening that fact. And when we're doing topically in a certain area, we're heightening it in the fact of that particular region of the body. So I love that explanation.
Yeah, and the nice thing about, because our products are very complex, they could actually stand on their own without CBD in them as far as reducing pain and inflammation and promoting total relaxation. But, as long as the CBD is on the skin, it is sending messages to the brain for an extended period of time. I always marvel at the guests or patients or clients that use it and they say, oh, wow, I felt the CBD right away. Well, you really didn't. What you're feeling is all the other ingredients that we incorporate into our products. And we incorporate, obviously therapeutic grade essential oils, and we combine them strategically so that they work synergistically rather than just to make the product smell good. Now, yes, of course, our products smell good, but it's more about, is it going to work? It's like, I wouldn't sell you a bottle of shampoo that's not going to wash your hair. You'd never come back. And so, it has to be effective. But with the CBD, as long as it keeps sending messages to the brain, the body's going to continuously produce its own cannabinoid. So you get this longer period of relief. When somebody comes in and says, oh, my knees are sore, how often should I apply it? I always tell people you should apply it 4 to 6 hours. Expect the CBD to start actually doing its job within 30, 40 minutes. It depends on the person and things like that. But you'll get extended. And I always say, like anything, it's got a finite life to it, right? Where it's not going to be effective anymore. Or if you wash it off, then it's no longer sending messages to the brain to produce its cannabinoid, the body's cannabinoid. And so, I tell people all the time, initially for the first 48 hours, apply it every 4 to 6 hours. Put it on before you go to bed at night. And you may find out that you don't need to apply it even that often. When we sponsor events like the World Rugby Showcase or the, US Open Pickleball Championship or any sporting events which we are participating in, we're an experiential company. We want people to experience it. And I can't, going back to, what you said earlier about, people are skeptical about this. So what we do is we always like to apply the product on somebody first. Go watch a tournament, go watch a game, go have lunch, come back. And 95% of the sales that we make at activations, such as any event, is after we've applied the product. And people always say, like, don't you want me to buy it now? I said, no, it's the same thing. I'm not going to sell you a product that doesn't work for you. And then I had a wiseacre come back and said, well, you said only 95% of the people come back. What about the other 5%? I said, well, think about this. When you're not in pain, are you thinking about pain? No. So the people that we applied product to probably left because they were no longer in pain and weren't thinking about coming back and buying the product.
Exactly. They need that reason to come back. And when that reason isn't presented clearly in
Yeah.
front of them, that's where that 5% goes. I love the service approach that you guys have, and your story behind it is really what makes the wellness industry great. All these wellness entrepreneurs, such as yourself, are looking to help other people achieve whatever it is that they're trying to achieve through the service or products that you guys have. And in
Yeah.
this case, a lot of athletes and a lot of active people, whether you're an athlete or not, or even people like you mentioned before, who are just sitting in an office chair every day that have back pain. This could be a solution. Try it.
Yeah.
See if it works.
Yeah. I mean,
It's worked for a lot of others, but see if it works for you. And if it works, come back, grab some more, make sure that you're out of pain.
yeah.
That's the real thing with the CBD. My next question, kind of in the CBD category, is, CBD is everywhere. I just came back from Amsterdam. It's in every single shop there is. But is the market oversaturated with these low quality products and diluting the potential that Splish Natural provides?
It is. I mean, it's one of the challenges we have. It's a saturated market. I'm kind of going leaning back on my old Wall Street days when the dot coms started taking off and companies like eBay were now trading and Amazon and companies none of us had ever heard of on this new thing fangled thing called the internet. I mean, doctors were leaving their jobs to day trade because again, almost like this, there was so much information, misinformation that, oh yeah, we're going to make you rich beyond your wildest dreams if you start day trading. And of course, the failure rate in day traders was astronomical. And so, now it's the same thing. You've got this new industry. Marijuana is now legalized in many, many states. And CBD, of course, was supposed to be kind of legalized through the hemp, through the farm bill. And people are looking at it as a great opportunity. And they're jumping into this with both feet with not a lot of knowledge. I mean, I came with 20 years of spa experience working with product companies. I've owned my own franchise salon company where we developed our own products. So developing products wasn't new. And we'd had, years and years and years of experience. And then, of course, I surrounded myself with people that were willing to test every product. We when we first started developing products, we spent 18 months developing, testing, reformulating to make sure it was right. I'm not a doctor. I've never taken the Hippocratic Oath, but do no harm. It's at the top of our list. A product has to be safe. You don't want to wonder, am I going to take a trip and not leave the office if I apply this. And so I think we brought with us many, many years of experience, surrounded myself with a lot of people who have had experience either in product development or using products, similar products, and were willing to give me their God's honest feedback. And that really shaped the products that we have in place today.
I love that. The testing and being safe is definitely something that's the most important. And I think it has been oversaturated within the market of, I don't know if this is safe or not. And there's so many products out there
Yeah.
that we're uncertain of. So it definitely has taken a toll on a lot of people, even just acting upon it to help themselves as well. Mentioning your story and going from owning spas and creating your own products and all of that, what was that pivotal moment that transformed your vision from being a spa director to a wellness innovator?
I mean, since I've been a youngster, I've actually been an entrepreneur at heart. Whether it was selling sweet corn door to door from my dad's farm, or owning my own day trading business, owning my own spas, my own consulting. So when I had the opportunity, I was at the Ritz-Carlton in Half Moon Bay, California, just a beautiful, beautiful resort. And when my time was up, my focus has always been to fix dysfunctional spas that need some help and make them profitable. And I did that. And when I came back to Colorado, I had no shortage of spas saying, hey, would you consider coming over? And by then it was time for me to harken back to my entrepreneurial roots, which is pretty much my happy place. And since I'd now been, introduced to CBD and studying it, probably like a lot of people that jumped in, I jumped in not with both feet. I put my pinky in the water first and moved slowly and methodically. But a big reason I went in that direction, and if it wasn't CBD, it might have been something else. Just because entrepreneurship is in my blood, it's been in my blood all my life, and so it just so happened that at that time, like I said, I had published a book on investing in marijuana stocks, publicly traded marijuana stocks, and when I started testing CBD, and I did it with my teams in the spa, and we found that, yeah, there's some efficacy here. Let's take a deeper dive. Let's learn more about who's out there, who's in the, and there's some very reputable companies in the space. And then of course, at the opposite end, there's a lot of wannabes that aren't as reputable in the space. So, it's always been challenging to walk your talk, be straight, transparent, and honest. I mean, we work with a lot of law enforcement individuals, which is a rather conservative group, and they kind of want to they're steering away from it until at the federal level it's legalized. And I've had people say, "Well, okay, you say that there's there," and I can say, "But how do I know this testing certificate is applied to that product, or how do I know those essential oils are in there? How do I trust anything on your label when it truly is not a regulated?" So it becomes, one, you just have to be honest about your products, what's in it. Don't fabricate stories because you think it's going to drive business, and so we focus on really doing it right, doing it honestly, doing it with a great deal of transparency. We divulge our ingredients. We don't hide behind fancy words like fragrance or perfume. It's all there. And even when we're talking to spas, we have a pretty detailed document that even when you in people, talking to people, individuals in the spa industry that understand massage oils and massage balms and all these natural ingredients, they can look at the ingredients and go, yeah, I know that, I trust that. And, I make a lot of B2B sales before people even try it because they know what the ingredients are. So
Absolutely. Yeah, it's creating that trust and creating that experience that someone can have, and that's where the service approach that you guys have of try it. Let's be experimental. Try it. See if it works for you. And if it works for you, learn a little bit more about what's actually in it and why it works for you. And that's where the trust comes. And hopefully we can get, a federal level of pretty quickly that we can actually start sharing, hey, this is really legit stuff, and we can start using it mass more, even more mass than
yeah,
we already are. But I love that approach that you guys have. Moving off of the CBD side of it, I wanted to talk about the rejuvenation mat a little bit. With the advancements in wellness tech, where do you see the integration, like you guys have done, of therapies like the rejuvenation mat with PEMF and red light heading within the next 5 years?
it's already booming. Like CBD, I'm not an island. I'm not the only one in the space, not even close. And the same thing with this technology. And it's not new technology. It's one of the things I love the most about it is, one, unlike CBD, which there's very limited research that validates things that people experience with CBD. There's no shortage of research when you start talking about pulse electromagnetic field, far infrared heat therapy, negative ion generation, TENS, transcutaneous nerve stimulation, or red light therapy. And of course, gemstone therapy will go back thousands of years, and so that's part of what we're doing is we're kind of taking taking high tech, all natural solutions and ancient, theories or therapies and combining them together. Again, going back to the very beginning of this podcast, spherical approach. Most of these therapies that are built into these mats are FDA approved and they're natural and they're holistic. If you take PEMF, for example, the earth has a frequency. Everything has a frequency. There's frequency, depending on where you're standing between the poles, is 8 cycles, very low frequency. Okay. These mats can drop the frequency actually down to 3 cycles. Now, why would you do that? Well, let's say you want to calm the body down. You had an agitating day of work. You just got done on a 9-hour flight and you're kind of wound up. You can lay on this mat. It'll calmly, gently slow the body down. While the far infrared heat, which is the thing you feel most prominently, is going to help relax the body. The far infrared heat also helps the body produce a vitamin D, something that we all need, and it helps increase blood circulation. So when you're at the healing aspect of it, as we said earlier on our topical products, you need to increase blood circulation to heal. But with the pulse electromagnetic field, now we can increase it up to 64 cycles. Why would you do that? One, you might want to energize the body before you get on the ice so that you're going to reduce the potential for injury. Or when you're off the ice, you want to get on it and help you recover faster because, you're flying to Toronto tomorrow for another game. And then, and we create protocols. We've got all the details of what each frequency means, what's the frequency range. Yes, there are contraindications. For example, you don't want to use pulse electromagnetic field if you have anything in your body that's magnetized, like a pacemaker or a cochlear ear implant or an insulin pump. We don't want to, and we of course educate people on that. You just don't want to throw them on there and flip a switch. But things like far infrared heat, are relatively safe. If you're a woman who's pregnant, then you want to get your doctor's approval before you do it. My other favorite thing though is negative ions. Negative ions are a natural element of the earth. If you and I were at the base of Yosemite Falls, I bet we're getting hit with about 300,000 negative ions per square centimeter. When we come into our office, where I'm at, where you're at, we're getting hit with zero negative ions. Negative ions are important because one, they purify the blood, bolster the immune system, and they neutralize free radicals, and they create a general overwhelming calm. Again, if the underlying theme here is relaxation, a body that is relaxed heals more rapidly than a body that's tense. If we're tense, it's going to take a long time for us to recover from those body blows on the ice or in the boxing ring or wherever. It could be a surgical
Absolutely.
procedure. Maybe you just had surgery. We have a lot of people that have the mats after hip surgeries, knee surgeries, any type of surgery. Because why? Again, the same thing as it helps an athlete recover more rapidly, it's helping an individual who's had a surgical procedure recover more rapidly as well. And, it's relaxing. They're calming. We just installed a mat into a local chemo infusion center, and we put it in there at their request because, fortunately for me, I'm healthy. I haven't had to have that experience, but I can only imagine the trepidation, the fear, the anxiety that people have. And the feedback now, as people are sitting on the mat, feeling the warmth of the far infrared heat, having the negative ions enter their body, having a low pulse electromagnetic field going, people are relaxed, they're calmer. And at the same time that they're receiving whatever infusion it is that they're receiving, they're also healing by virtue of what the mat offers them naturally and holistically. So, we may say, yes, this is a great experience at a spa, and we can create amazing experiences with these mats at the spa. But at the same time, if we get down into the rest of the population, then let's try to heal them. Let's try to calm them. Let's try to improve the quality of their life. I tell the team all the time, if we're not improving the quality of life, then we're wasting our time. And at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, that's our goal, is to improve the quality of your life and everyone else's life, but do it without pills. And that's not me saying that there's not a space out there for prescribed medications, obviously, or the occasional ibuprofen. It's the abuse that we're trying to get people away from.
Absolutely. There's a lot to unpack there. We'll definitely have to save that for another podcast. Maybe we'll do like a 5 hour podcast because I could definitely talk about that all day.
Yeah.
Frequency wise, I mean, even linen, it's connecting with Earth is
Yeah.
really what it is, and trying to connect back with Earth, like you mentioned, the negative ions and all of the frequencies that we always have around us, whether it's in our clothes or on our computers or on our phones or whatever that might look like. Connecting with Earth and kind of keeping that calm balance is definitely something that more needed in today's society. My last question to you, what's the very first step that someone could take into their healing journey, whether it's with pain or trying to connect back with the earth?
I'm a big fan of, it's okay to take baby steps. You don't need to just jump right in. If you have an opportunity to, let's just revert to talk about CBD because it's a much lower cost product. Certainly I recommend people make the investment, give it a try, make sure it's with a company, whether it's me or somebody else that does have a high reputation. As you stated earlier, we were in a product box at the Grammy Awards and we were at the product box at the Oscars. That wasn't accidental. It was built on the trust that the group that made the decision to bring us in had in our products. So, if you go to bed at night and your knees are sore, spend a little money, and it's going to be a small amount of money, and dabble with it. If you have an opportunity to test drive a PEMF mat, by all means do so. They're more of an investment, of course. Our products are, we have a goal. Our tagline is everyone deserves wellness, and we couldn't walk that talk if we priced our mats or priced any of our products where so many of our competitors have priced their products. So yes, our margins are smaller from a business standpoint, but we're also healing more people at a price point that I think it's important to educate yourself. Anybody, we've got, all kinds of great documents about our mats, our chakra mat, our rejuvenation mat, and the benefits that really outline them. And I'm happy to share that with anybody that wants to research their natural healing journey before taking the journey. And let's face it, the internet is loaded with all kinds of information out there. Hopefully, it's mostly good. So I think it's like anything. A hike always starts with the first step.
Absolutely. We're always obsessed with the end result and trying to share some information with people who are looking for what does that first step look like is why I always ask that question. If anyone is looking for more information specifically on Splish Naturals, look at their website, splishnaturals.com. They also have their Instagram and their LinkedIn page. Reach out to Matt. He'll answer any questions. There's a lot of information on their website about every single one of their products. Do some research, figure out what your goal is in your healing journey, and start today. Matt, it was a pleasure having you on the podcast. We're going to have to do this again. I'm going to hold you to it.
Bring it on.
We have so much more to talk about, but it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for having me, Elliot. And on the next one, we could take a dive into some of the other products that we're working on that maybe when we speak again, will be in the marketplace. But I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today. Thanks so much. And, I tip my hat to your wellness journey.